Good evening, everybody. So it looks like, hopefully you had the coffee for the afternoon, and I know it's kind of getting to the tail end of the day, and I know that most of you came here at about 9 o'clock, but I really appreciate you showing up for this session, and I think we're going to have some interesting conversation. I think between Athina and Bhaskar, we're going to really have some very, very useful nuggets that we will see as we look at this topic of hype to impact. And we've heard a lot about what AI can do, cannot do, all of that. But I think, fundamentally we're getting into where the impact has been. Has it been for an enterprise? Has the impact has been for individuals? And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, right? So it's mostly around what is a corporate level, enterprise level impact that AI has created over a period of time. So, and realizing that some of the noise or the conversation which the AI has changed over a period of time, clearly generative AI had a role to play. Without that, in the last, 12 to 18 months, it has changed the narrative around AI. Not that AI was anything new, but I think it completely changed the way we looked at AI because of the fact that we are generative. So that's something which, I'm going to ask the panelists to see if, what they look at, when they look at the impact on the enterprise, is it from traditional AI or is it also part of the generative AI? And while doing that, we also, and of course we celebrate the impact of AI as we're going to look at some of the examples, but we also should not forget the critical responsibility comes with this adoption and what the impact that it probably had on the enterprises, ethical consideration, privacy concerns, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay, with that, we got this phenomenally good panel. And I must say that, I've had some brief conversation with both Athina and Bhaskar. Bhaskar is, of course, most of you probably know Bhaskar has been around in India for quite some time as the Chief Strategy Officer for Accenture. Bhaskar, welcome. And same thing with Athina. I found a lot about Athina. I mean, of course, she has a sort of a minor, issue with her leg, so that's what we kind of were walking up the stage. I thought it was a ski accident, but she told me that it's actually she fell on the stairs. But good luck. Hopefully, we'll get that out pretty soon, Athina. But she's a Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer in PepsiCo. Pretty senior level role both of them have in their respective organizations. So with that, how organizations have started to apply AI broadly, again, as I mentioned, maybe GenAI in particular, to improve the way they run the business. So in your businesses, if you could give us some real life examples, that'll be great for our audience to sort of relate to. So maybe Athina, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Bhaskar. Yeah.
Wonderful. And can you hear me fine?
Is
it fine?
Now we can?
Now better? Is this better now?
Okay now? Okay.
Okay, maybe I have to hold it like that.
Yeah, or you can use this as well if you like.
Is this the same? No.
Could somebody get a hand mic?
No, it's fine. I can use this one. This is better. Well, thank you for the invitation, and it's great to be here, back to India and Bombay for sure. So as PepsiCo, I want to distinguish between using more traditional AI versus Gen AI, because more traditional or applied AI we have been using for many years on the way we do planning, how we forecast our business, on the way we manage our manufacturing capabilities, on the way we manage our logistics and distribution. We embed AI in everything that we do so we can connect the end-to-end value chain. So for us, it has always been, especially in the past 2 years, on how do we industrialize the capabilities and operationalize AI capabilities for the sake of driving one, operational excellence, and the other one is top-line growth for the company. Gen AI obviously has come much later into the game, and we focused it on two specific areas. One is how do we improve the experience of our customers and our consumers? So if you were to think of us, we are predominantly a B2B business, right? So as such, we have B2B commerce platforms. And therefore, on these platforms, we have all the small mamas and papa shops that engage with us, order our goods, they do selling and fulfillment through the platforms. So how do we improve the customer service through Gen AI and have a better experience, cutting also the cycles of development, has been a #1 use case with great success so far. So we have seen productivity efficiency there of around the range of 30 to 40%. In parallel, we have a big technology team. So that we have insourced, and then we have partners that we outsource some of those capabilities. And what we have done in the past year is ensure that from a software development cycle, we embed GenAI from a productivity perspective as well. The other big use case is on marketing and generation of content. So we are one of the biggest advertisers in the world. So if you were to see the campaigns that we run, both in India and outside, we spend on A&M more than any other CPG company that you will see out there. So we are using GenAI more and more to generate auto content. So you leverage our own content and GenAI on top of that to create campaigns much faster, which drive top-line growth. So two areas. One is top-line performance, and there we saw incrementality already of around 20 to 35%, and then bottom-line performance.
Perfect. Before I go to Bhaskar, I have a follow-up question on the last segment you talked about in the marketing, or especially the ad generation. The usage of AI has given you a lot of leg room. But give me a sense that, is it predominantly in the content generation or in the way the effectiveness of the ad is determined using GenAI?
It's both. It's both. So it's, in many cases, out of the content that you see, we own 70% of the content. So when it comes to synthesizing the content, to be creating new content, we are using GenAI in the content generation process. So that's the first part. And then we also use AI in the content moderation and content fulfillment process as well. So as you push it out to the consumers. So it's in both angles.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And Bhaskar, so in your mind, the examples that you relate to within Accenture or with your customers, if you could share some examples, please.
Yes, Rajesh, thank you. So the way I look at it, working with the multiple clients last 6-7 months, maybe we have worked with more than 700 engagement with different clients. What I observed that most of the clients are trying to use generative AI to achieve 3 things. Number one, majority of them are trying to drive productivity. It's a very simple use case that in their scope of work, how this new technology can drive the additional productivity. That is use case one. Second thing is that how this technology can drive growth, create a differentiated experience, new business model. I will say this is 80-20, 80% effort and the engagements are going in the productivity, maybe 15-20% are going into the growth area. So these are the broad spectrum of the work what is happening. I'll give you one example that from Accenture, what we are doing internally for ourselves, and maybe one from the customers, what they are using it. In Accenture, when we talk about the generative AI, this technology or the driving productivity is nothing new. Those who are in the services industry, that with different tools we are driving productivity, year-on-year productivity for many years with many tools. So this is one more tool. But there is a fundamental difference. The fundamental difference is, so far all the productivity tools were used to eliminate the repetitive manual job. So focus of the productivity was elimination of repetitive manual job. But generative AI gives the capability to transform the knowledge work. It digitalize the knowledge and democratize that and make that access easy. So that is a fundamental different way of looking at this work. I'll give you an example what we are doing in Accenture. We have lots of knowledge across the globe, different country, different engagement. We work in multiple industries, multiple domains. So we are digitalizing those industry knowledge. We are digitalizing some of those capabilities in the form where generative AI can access. So that next time when I am creating a solution for the client, I am bringing the best of Accenture solution to every time, in every geography, in every day. So that is one example that how it is completely changing the game in the knowledge work. Of course, we all know about that. We are using the technology in starting from the coding to marketing to the HR in the different functions. Whole of Accenture, we are taking the AI first approach so that in every function, in every geography, we try to see how this new technology can drive the productivity at scale. I'll give one example of one of the client that, it's a large auto manufacturers in Germany. They have created the organizational knowledge base using generative AI. So what happened that starting from the query on supply chain of a particular product to the sales situation, that when the client asks for some model of car, with the hundreds of options and variations, so it can just recommend the right model, right combination, what exactly needed for the client. So there is a knowledge base is helping in the manufacturing, knowledge base is helping in the supply chain, knowledge base is also helping in their HR processes, and knowledge base is helping in their sales. It's early stage, the expectation is that it will give the 30 to 40% productivity improvement across the organization into the different functions. So there is a lot of opportunity, and it is all about the applying that at scale within the organization.
Thank you, Bhaskar. The automobile example that you shared was very fascinating, right? But let me ask you this, though. The example that you narrated, think of that as a pure analytics project versus now with AI, generative AI. What is the difference that you see? Explain to us as to if you did not have generative AI and then the AI application, if you had only used some basic analytics work, what would have been the change and impact, and why do you believe that the GenAI has actually made it even better?
So I step back and maybe give you the answer that what is the fundamental capability of generative AI. Let's say if I go to a hospital for a doctor, if I feel sick, I'll prefer a doctor with 20 years experience. I'll hesitate to go a doctor 1 year experience. But both are of same qualification. What is difference between a 20 years experienced doctor and 1 year experienced doctor when their qualification is same? The difference is 20 years. The 20 years that doctor is practicing in some area. That is the knowledge. Now what happened if I make 200 years of knowledge, if I digitalize and make that available to 1 year experienced doctor? Then which doctor I should approach? That is the question we need to think. We need to think a question. Today when you go to bank, 20 years experienced banker approves higher amount of loan. 1 year experienced banker approves lower amount of loan. What is the difference? The 20 years. That is the knowledge. And that can be democratized with the power of this technology. So what fundamentally this technology is bringing, it is the ability to digitalize the organizational individual knowledge and make that available at the point of action, and it has got a human-like decision-making capability. That changed the fundamental way we do the work, that changed the the talent model in the future.
Fantastic. I think the analogy that you used with the doctor was quite impactful, I must say. The next time I go to hospital, I know which junior doctor or senior doctor. But by the way, if you have any questions in the audience, please do come up. We do have some time for the questions as well. If you are inclined to ask any questions or comments, please do make sure that you have a mic. I'll continue with this, but if you do have questions, please do let me know. Now, moving on, I think, while the impact has been phenomenal in both your companies, PepsiCo, within Accenture, your clients, I also believe that many companies have invested way too much money on artificial intelligence, broadly, generative AI in particular, and they're wondering whether the investment was really worth it, or they should have waited for a little longer, or they should have done it earlier, whatever it is, right? What are your thoughts on the return on investments, and how do you see these investments that you have made making a difference? We'll start with Athina and then Mark.
Okay, wonderful. So when I joined PepsiCo 4 years ago, part of my task in the first 4 months is to write the business case and the strategy, right? And then, of course, I'm responsible for the business strategy, but I'm also responsible for the digital strategy of the organization. And that I had to commit to the board to a top line and bottom line targets. I mean, nothing comes for free in any corporation. Let's start with that. So I have targets and our chairman has targets. And we are tracking every quarter, which we report back to the board, what is the return on investment, both in terms of margin and EBITDA, and also incremental revenue on any initiative that we do in the organization, including, of course, AI investments. So for us, if it doesn't have a positive ROI, we just kill it. It's as simple as that. We cannot afford to do test after test after test in nice hobbies and experiments. And that's why for us, bigger is better, less is better. Anything that can drive bottom line, especially bottom line, so margin expansion, is even better. So the more I drive margin expansion, the more funds I will get from the board and from the chairman in our planning process. So a couple of things that have been proven to be successful. One is tracking and value realization framework. So quarterly results are linked to the financial performance of those initiatives. We have an annual planning process of which we have to go back to all the ExCom, and I have to go back to all the ExCom and justify the investments and why we need to keep on investing in those specific capabilities. And now twice a year, before it was once a year, I'm going to the board, our board, and I also present all the updates on our digital and AI strategy. So these are some of the mechanisms that will ensure that we as PepsiCo don't invest our time in hobbies, but invest our time in things that will benefit the overall business strategy of the organization. And technology for us is at the core of our business strategy.
And you do believe that the GenAI investments PepsiCo has done so far has been really
Absolutely. Good. Look, I mean, I don't believe there is anyone out there that will say they have done GenAI investments at scale yet, right? Because even if you were to think of the licensing model, we're talking about our big tech partners, Microsoft being one of those that I heard. I mean, I just learned of their licensing model a couple of months ago, and I'm one of their biggest clients, right? So there is, there is some way to go before everyone can say, oh, GenAI investments, we have, spent hundreds of millions. On AI, though, and on our data and on our digital investments, we have spent, a significant amount of money, for sure.
Bhaskar?
I think that the ROI is the important in terms of the prioritization. Because this is a technology which is coming from consumer to industry. Like say, when I talk to our clients or I talk to internally in Accenture about the future of technology, I talk about quantum computing. The first 15 minutes I have to explain that why that is important and how it has to be adopted and what is the business implication. But if I talk about generative AI, first 15 minutes I keep my mouth shut. Some person will explain to me how generative AI can be implemented in their scope of work. So everybody knows ChatGPT, everybody knows what is to be done. So because of that excitement, the adoption of technology will be faster and their acceptance is very high. So that in Accenture, 9 months back when I started looking at what are the different use cases within Accenture. So immediately within 2 weeks, I got 600 use cases. Oh my God, I can't invest on 600 use cases. And you should not invest on 600 use cases because then you cannot manage. You cannot manage the security, cannot manage the responsible AI. So from that 600, only way I can choose by using the ROI. So we selected around 6 to 10 use cases where I thought that there is a return on investment is maximum. So I think it is extremely important to choose the right ROI for making any investment. One need to understand the Gen AI is not a technology implementation. Gen AI needs to be looked at as more of a business transformation because this will fundamentally change the way that we work and we deliver to our clients. So that is why look at the overall business context, look at the ROI to choose your right project.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bhaskar. Any questions there? Okay, there's one gentleman there.
Hi.
Do you mind telling your name as well? Yeah, please.
Yeah, Milap with Next Sales. 25 years ago, joined Anderson Consulting and left it 20 years ago. So Bhaskar, everything you're talking about, we used to have in a knowledge exchange back in Lotus Domino's.
You may want to just stand up so that you can see.
Yeah. So I guess fascinated with understanding how, as head of strategy, you're driving the consultants to be change agents and educating them on AI. We hear Julie Sweet a week ago talk about massively upgrading the consultants' knowledge themselves within Accenture. And you guys are at the apex of the food chain, right? Because you're driving change internally and then with clients, and you got tens of thousands of years of client engagement experience. So spill some of the beans here. Tell us how you're approaching training transformation internally, because this is AI in a new world, and we're all struggling to figure out how we're going to stay relevant. So if you could shed some light, that'd be awesome.
Thank you. Bhaskar?
So if I have understood the question correctly, that you are talking about how we do the training and large scale within Accenture on generative AI.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think it's a good question. First of all, that this is a large transformation, large wave. We have backed this initiative by an investment commitment. We have said that we will make $3 billion investment in next 3 years to drive the whole transformation. So training, that we will driving the large scale training, but it is more than the training, it is change management. Most difficult thing in the training, to convince that my job will get changed. Everybody thinks that how generative AI will be applied to somebody else's job, somebody else's work.
Right.
But you need to start thinking how your work will get changed. You need to see what all things you do every day, how you can embrace generative AI to improve the productivity and the performance. That is the change in the mindset. That is the change in the culture one needs to drive. Of course, it has to be backed by the right level of training. There are n number of options available today with the digital training, physical training, certification, and all those things are needed. But it starts with an individual. We all need to embrace this technology and see that how we create more value for all stakeholders with the power of this new generative AI.
Okay, we have one more question there. Yeah, please
Hi,
go ahead.
This is Rishi. So my question is to you guys, the most important part of generative AI is predictive analytics. And I have had the opportunity to test some of the predictive analytics and play around with the generative AI models. And I did not find the accuracy more than 60 to 80%. So I'm curious, what is PepsiCo doing? Like, how can you hang your hat on something which is not 100% accurate? And then secondly, you're working with about 700 clients. What has their experience been? And my second part of the question would be, every Fortune 500 company has announced AI-driven transformation on their earnings call. So what would be your feedback or advice to these Fortune 500 C-suite?
Well, yeah, please. Yeah. Both of you can answer, but you can start and then Athina can answer. Yeah.
So my view will be that, I get this type of question every day, and you are absolutely right. The result may not be 100% correct. So it's a glass half full or half empty. So one way you can look at that, LLM and the models are not ready, so I will not use. The other way of looking at it that, it works for 60% time. Let us see that how I can take best use of that, and I know that 40% time it will be wrong, and I will use that effectively to improve the productivity. But I can tell you the way the technology will advancing, that today if it is in your example, if it is 60%, in 2 years down the line it will be 80% to 90%. So I think that this technology has come to a stage, I strongly believe that this is now production ready. This is now business ready. Is it perfect? No. This has got a problem of hallucination. This has got a problem of security, IP, so many things we are hearing. It has to be implemented in a responsible way. but it has come to a stage you cannot ignore it. You cannot ignore it by telling that this is not ready, because this is going to touch every industry, it is going to touch every function, every individual.
Thank you. Do you agree with what Bhaskar is saying, Athina?
Well, it's more of a build, right? We in PepsiCo, and I think kind of any company that wants to be honest with their employees, we don't use GenAI for everything. It's a mistake. It's right. It's most of the problems that enterprises will have can be solved with more traditional AI, or even in some cases with applied statistics to start with. Right? I mean, when we forecast what the demand will be, I can use traditional AI and ML models and deep learning to be able to do that. I don't need to use GenAI to do it. It would be crazy to do that, because I want to forecast my business with a 95% accuracy, not a 50% accuracy, because I have customer service contracts with the Walmarts and the Target that I have to fulfill. So let's be also very honest with ourselves on what GenAI can do versus what GenAI cannot do, right? So that's point number one. I am a Fortune 100 company, right? And as a Fortune 100 company, yes, our chairman and CEO will go to Cogni and will actually say that we are using AI for a transformation. And this is absolutely true. If you hear at the Fortune 100 companies, they are using AI for the business transformation. And I think for us, and I am actually the testimonial of that, that's why the Strategy and Transformation Officer is responsible for technology in PepsiCo. And it's not under the traditional business models of a CFO, COO, CIO, because we believe ultimately this is a business transformation initiative. So what you will see more and more in Fortune 100, they will not just talk about technology, but they will also change fully their operating model to be able to support this type of transformations moving forward.
Thank you. That was a very, very insightful comment that you made there, Athina. So, granted that GenAI will have to be looked at as a business transformation rather than a technology transformation. But the fact that we are with the technology, mostly technology audience, there are a lot of business folks in this audience as well. I want to ask you both, the fact that you are from a technology field, Bhaskar, and then of course Athina is also directly responsible for the technology which PepsiCo does worldwide, being that, so we have very strong technology connection from both of you. I want to understand, what is the impact both AI and generative AI have had on technical industry, which means the IT talent or the technology talent. How is it transforming because of AI and generative AI especially? The tasks like programming, testing, etc., etc. And what should the technology talent do to stay relevant in the days to come? So maybe we'll start with Athina and then Bhaskar, you can.
Yeah, and I'll have to say I love technology. I have a PhD in this space.
Exactly.
So let's start with that, right?
Exactly.
Although my title is more expansive. We have one of the biggest technology organizations in the world from an enterprise perspective. Put aside, of course, our consulting friends who are here. And if you ask them what excites you the most right now, is the fact that they will not do the tasks that they were doing in the past because of the use of this technology. So the fact that they will apply much more creative ways of building applications. The fact now that they are thinking of enterprise architecture and solution architecture in a much more expansive way comparing to the more analog way. The fact that they are now embedding user experience and new ways of using user interfaces for the applications to impact directly the business. And I would say for the first time that you have pretty much every part of the business asking for their support directly, right? So they are not anymore considered back office. They are at the front of the decision making. So if you were to do that, to see holistically the plan, we have done a couple of things. One is for every employee of PepsiCo, and not just for the technology. For the past 2 years, we have upskilled and reskilled everyone so they can understand cloud, data, digital AI, what does it mean for them? And then specifically for the technology, data, and digital talent, and within that, of course, a smaller group of AI and ML engineers, we have gone to aggressive retraining and certification. And that has helped us pivot the talent to focus on the things that we know are very important for us from a priority perspective, but also to allow the organization, which is even more important, to catch up. Because we can have amazing tech talent, but if our people don't understand how to use the technology, it would be a waste.
Perfect, perfect, great. Bhaskar?
No, as Athina said, that the technology will be the core of the business transformation. So I believe that at the end of the day, with this new technology, there will be a lot more opportunity for a technology to drive the transformation. But we need to understand very clearly that there will be a change, and we need to embrace that change. So a lot of work, what we do today as a technology services from India across the globe, that will not be there 3 years down the line or 5 years down the line. Again, there will be a lot more new type of work will come, and that we need to embrace. Within Accenture, we have defined 12 different new roles. That work we don't do today, that work does not exist today, that is new role is coming up. So we need to embrace those new capability, new technology, new skills to, to be a leader in the future. So there will be a lot more opportunity, but there will be a rotation. So what is needed for these people, those who are in technology professionals, to adopt this and rotate and embrace the new technology. My message will be always the listen, learn, and lead. Listen what is happening across you, learn this new technology, and lead with this technology. This will be the future, and this will create larger opportunity, lot more opportunity in the coming days.
All right, with that profound thought, Athina, Bhaskar, thank you so much for your valuable comments. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. I'm going to request you to hand over tokens of our appreciation to both our speakers.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to NASSCOM YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.